grew up in Britain in the 1990s, there is perhaps only one car that is Formula One. It is a car that took Britain's hero finally to his first and only Formula One World Championship at the age of 39. It is a car that when it won the British Grand Prix was so loved and so mobbed it couldn't finish its warm-down lap. It is of course the FW14B, the car in which Nigel Mansell, after many years of trying and after retiring once and returning to the sport, finally won the Formula One World Championship. And it is for sale at Bonham's at the Goodwood Festival of Speed this year. There's so many reasons why this car is something special. It comes at a time when Williams were at their height, at the very peak of what they could do. It is one of the most iconic liveries that has ever been seen in Formula One, with a driver who created such a fever inside Britain that has never been seen before or since. It has a number emblazoned on the front in red that on its own, if you just mention it, you know exactly what car it is. Red 5 on the front of a car with Nigel Mansell in it. There is nothing to compare. It was designed by Adrian Newey, and under the back there is a screaming, wonderful Renault V10, the engine that would go on to be the dominant engine for most of the 1990s. We saw this car at Foz a couple of years ago. It sounded incredible then. It's still from an era where you can see flames coming out of the back. The FW14B compares to today's Formula One cars and makes them, in some cases, look sort of like dinosaurs. This thing is absolutely loaded with technology. We're talking traction control, we're talking active suspension, we're talking automatic gear changes. This thing could almost drive itself. On the outside, it doesn't look that special. It's got a low nose, but as far as it seems, it's got a low nose. In reality, it was one of the early high nose concepts. It may not be lifted off the wing, but the air is channeled underneath for a better flow. It's what's on the inside that really makes this car work. If you ask Williams nicely, and they get all their computers out, and this thing runs only on one computer and is an old Windows 9, it's not even a Windows 95 PC, it's from before that, they can make this car dance. It will move itself up and down and left and right without you needing to do anything. What they would do is they could program the circuit they were going to arrive into this car, and it would be able to keep itself almost flat through every corner. Now today they have very, very many trick suspension pieces and ways to make cars seem like they're sitting flat, but nothing like this. Nothing at all has been seen like this. And perhaps there may only be one more technologically advanced Formula One car, and that would be the car that followed this the next season, the FW15. Okay, you might be saying that must have been the most complicated thing in the world for any driver to ask. Even today, a Formula One steering wheel basically takes a degree to work out how to use it. There must be the most complicated interior of any car on something like this. No. Inside there's a steering wheel. And I mean a wheel. It's round, it's got two buttons on it, one of them's for the radio, one of them's for a drink, and it's got two paddles behind it, and that is it. Everything else was pre-programmed or controlled from the outside. Now we associate the FW14B intrinsically with Nigel Mansell. He won 9 Grand Prix that season. He went on to finally clinch that World Championship that everyone in Britain had been waiting so long for him to get. This car he drove in 7 Grand Prix that season. He won 5 of them, astonishingly. But then it went on. It did change later in the season. This is chassis number 8. It was used for the second half of the season by his teammate, Riccardo Patrese, and it was emblazoned with the number 6 instead of the 5. Now, it actually won more points under Patrese than it did with Mansell, but that's because Nigel had a slightly iffy second half of the season. But that doesn't stop the mystique. It's now back in its wonderful red 5 livery. And for me, for someone who grew up sort of in the early 1990s, these are the cars, and this livery is the thing that is mine and our first memories of Formula One. It's the real sort of spark, and the mania surrounding Mansell probably makes the love for Lewis Hamilton pale in insignificance. People loved him and they mobbed him everywhere that he went. Just think of the scenes at the end of the British Grand Prix when he won it. He got halfway around the lap and that was it. He could get no further through the crowds. Now, it's for sale at Bonham's at the Goodwood Festival of Speed later this year. They won't give us an estimate yet, but we reckon probably looking at maybe £3 million. We'll have a live stream to bring you that later in the year, so keep an eye out and make sure you're watching because you'll see a piece of history being sold.